If you constantly seem to feel tight, stiff, or generally uncomfortable at different parts in your body, and you can't seem to figure out how to connect them to make them feel fluid and powerful, it's not your fault. Most people have never been taught a strategy for how to move in a way that makes them feel good and that actually replenishes their body and allows them to problem solve movement efficiently. Not in PE, your physical education, not in high-level sports. And I experienced this as an athlete who was a professional for 20 years. And highly unlikely that you ever learned it in the weight room. You've probably been told to stretch, to do yoga, to roll out to help your body feel better, but you probably weren't taught how to do them. You were just told what to do. In this video, I'm going to share with you the exact foundational framework that I use to figure out how to release sticking points in my body, to move smoothly, to feel good in my body, and to figure out how to move efficiently in any movement that you choose. And if you do this for 10 minutes a day, you'll notice incredible improvements. But before we dive in, hi, I'm Liz Gleadle, and I'm a 3-time Olympian in javelin. I help ambitious people optimize their energy, their health, and their movement for real-world performance. If that's you, make sure to like and subscribe for more. I think the biggest thing we don't think about as people who enjoy moving or mastering movement is we don't think about how our body is organized. And I like to think about it as a vehicle, like a car. Where is the engine? How does it work? What's actually interacting with the ground? And what's doing the steering, and how do we make all these parts work together so that we can get the most out of our vehicle, so that we can make it do the things we want to do, and so that it can feel good. When I started to think of my body this way, I started being able to organize the sensations, the feelings within it, and have them make sense. I understood how each part was connected and how they contributed to a movement as a whole. So by the end of this video, my goal for you is for you to have the start of a blueprint of your own body so that you can map and problem solve any movement. The second thing you need to know about this blueprint is that it is kinesthetic, not visual. Let me explain. Humans function primarily through their sense of sight. When our eyes are open, our visual cortex actually takes up about 50% of the glucose that goes to the brain. But when we close our eyes, we have to choose another sense through which to navigate. Now, if we are navigating an environment, that would be split probably between what we hear and what we feel. But if we're not actually locomoting, if we are not moving, then we can truly focus on only what we feel. We don't have to worry about safety, about our environment, and about potentially running into things. We can put all of our focus on our kinesthetic sense of awareness. But here's the really interesting part about this. Because our brain is used to operating in visuals, when we close our eyes, our body will try and convert kinesthetic information into a visual concept. So for example, if I tell you to draw a circle with your hand and you start drawing a circle, you will see the circle, you know that you're drawing a circle. And when you close your eyes, you will feel the circle. You will feel where it is smooth. You will feel where it is jerking. And you will actually then have combined the sensation of how well can I draw a circle, can I move in a circle, versus my concept of a circle. And you will start to understand how well you actually move, how much control you actually have in different parts of your body. When we take time to move with the only goal to be mapping our body, not having to interact with another object, another person, to catch something, to navigate space, then we can actually truly move forward with this mind-body connection and build out a completely different level of athleticism and control. So here's how I think about the foundational blueprint of my body. We're gonna go through 5 things. 1, where your anchors are and what they do. 2, how your spinal engine works. 3, what your endpoints are and how they feed energy back into your system. 4, what your intention points are and how they lead movement and help you organize yourself relative to a task. And 5, how to use the breath as a hydraulic system that puts power into your system to either create pressure or a vacuum. So 1, what is an anchor? I like to think of an anchor as anything that is directly connecting you to gravity. Anything that is directly connecting you to the earth. For most of us, our feet are our anchors most of the time. But the problem is that our feet are often covered in shoes. And this dulls the sensations in the feet and it makes us less responsive and less reactive to understanding gravity. Your feet have over 200,000 nerve endings in each one. For reference, your hands have 15,000 each roughly, and your eyes have 1,000,000. And if we're getting a little cheeky, just to point out sensitivity, the penis has 9,000 apparently. So your feet are incredibly sensitive. When you wear shoes, you can't feel the ground the same way. For example, if you stand on a quarter barefoot, you will feel it. But if you stand on a quarter in runners, you probably won't. It's significantly blunted. And when we don't have these very nuanced sensations coming from our feet, we don't understand how to nuance ourselves relative to gravity. This can lead to not knowing how to organize our hips over our feet, our knees over our feet, or how our spine should be over our feet. So anytime you're doing an exercise, you can check in and ask yourself, how are my feet contributing to this movement? How am I anchored to the ground? Am I noticing that maybe my weight is shifted? Am I grabbing the ground? Am I ripping it apart? How am I stabilizing myself? When you start asking yourself that question, you create a bottom-up foundation that allows you to think more clearly about your movement and to orient yourself to the point that is directly in contact with gravity. Second thing you want to pay attention to is your spine or your core. People talk about core strength all the time, but they don't talk about core nuance. And the way I like to think about it is we evolved from fish at some point a long time ago, and fish have an amazing amount of dexterity in their spine. Just like we can have dexterity within our hands, we can also have dexterity within our rib cage and within our spine. But a lot of people now move in a way where we're just moving our limbs and we're keeping our core stable. People are always trying to stabilize the core, but the core should be able to control and move in all of these beautiful ways. And when we can actually move energy with our spine into our limbs and not just try and rely on our limbs, then we are able to truly generate power that radiates throughout our body and organizes our body relative to the middle. So how do the anchor and the spinal engine actually interact? When you're working the ground with your feet, when you're pushing it out, when you're pulling it together, when you're gripping the floor, you're going to notice that different parts of your core come on. And you'll be able to actually work the ground better by using your spine, by using different nuances with your spine to interact with your feet, with your anchors. Now you have power that you are generating yourself and the power of gravity coming together to be able to produce even more power. But the question is, where does this power go? What do we do with it? And that is when we get into endpoints. So if anchors are anything that is directly connected to gravity, for example, your feet on the ground or your hands when you're hanging from a bar, then an endpoint can be something that is not connected to gravity, but can feed energy back in due to the high levels of nerve endings. Endpoints are ignored because people don't understand that there's a high degree of nuance and fascia that we can actually create a fascial lock-in. At least that's how I think about it. And when you create a fascial lock, it allows you to feed tension and energy back into the system. It allows you to recycle energy, to reverberate it back off of the spinal engine and into another limb or back into the ground or wherever you want it to go. I figured this out because I never knew what to do with my left hand in javelin. I would throw, but it would be this lax left arm and then it would create no tension into my right. But when I actually started to pull and rotate and create tension here, you can see this tension pop up through my chest. And the more tension I created in this endpoint, the more tension it created in the other endpoint. And I was actually able to generate even more power because I was able to take energy that was generated up from the ground into the spinal engine, out through the arm, wrap it back into the arm, into the other arm, and to allow these endpoints to amplify my energy, or your intention endpoints. These are points in your body that direct and organize your movement. So your hands, your eyes, and your face are all really good examples of intention endpoints. The body loves to follow these high nerve ending, these high sensitivity areas of our body, but especially the eyes and the face. Our facial expressions and our eyes are really indicative of what we're doing and where we're going. And the body often follows the face because this is where the brain is, and the brain is gonna tell us where to go. So you'll notice that, for example, you can do this one really simple stretching exercise and notice how much more range you get when you activate your intention endpoints. So if you're doing a neck stretch and you let your head go back when you stretch, but you look directly up towards the ceiling, you'll notice how far your neck goes. And it might feel a little bit strange or not great to tilt your head back. So try it like this. Now try it again, but look behind you with your eyes. Look really far with your eyes and stretch your eyes. You might notice that you feel a lot safer going backwards. Now try it again, but add another intention endpoint, your tongue. Push the tongue to the roof of your mouth and look back with your eyes. You might notice that you get even further than before. This is just one example of trying to navigate a stretch, but you'll notice that when you're doing any kind of movement that involves stretching or moving, where you look and how you organize your face and the tension of your face, that muscular pose or dance that you do with this part of your face will impact the tension and the organization of the rest of the muscles in your body. Last is thinking of breath as hydraulic power. When we breathe in, we pressurize our system. We are literally increasing our blood pressure, and we are also creating increase in pressure within our body cavity. What this does, it allows us to pressurize or stabilize our spine. So take a deep breath in, and then try and rotate. And you'll notice that your rotation is limited, but you feel stable. This is why it's really great to breathe in when you're doing a squat, because it stabilizes and pressurizes your spine. It assists you. It's free power. But the exhale also serves a purpose. If you had just inhaled, and then you exhale, and then you try and twist, you'll notice you have way more range of motion because now you've created a vacuum. So in between a really big inhale and a really big exhale, we can manage our pressure. And depending on how we manage pressure, we either have more power or more range of motion. And when we start incorporating these into movements, then we can actually really safely move into stretches, we can add more power to our movement, and it becomes a whole different game. When you rotate your attention and focus through these 5 areas, you'll start to notice how they interact. When you breathe in a certain way, you'll notice you're more connected to your anchors. And when you start actually incorporating these concepts into your movement, movement starts to feel safe, starts to feel pleasurable, and it starts to feel really exciting because you feel your whole body working as one system, because you understand how the machine is working together to actually help you, to actually do the things you want to do. Now that you know the system, let me show you a few exercises that you can try to play around with these concepts. The first exercise is doing spinal waves and undulations. And in this exercise, my hips are actually anchored to the ground as well as my feet. And this allows me to stabilize the base of the spinal engine. So I don't have to deal with the ankles, the knees, and really my femurs too much, the hips. I'm really just anchoring the base of the spine and the pelvis. And in here, you can start to roll your spine, kind of like you're inside of a barrel. And this will create a shape. So I'm thinking about feeling a line around this edge of my body and drawing it against an invisible inside of a barrel. And when I'm doing this, I am now actually using my fingers and my hands as false anchors as I'm grabbing onto my knees a little bit. And that's actually allowing me to feed back some energy into the system. And every single time I take a big inhale, it pressurizes the inside of my rib cage and stretches it from within. And allows me to actually pay attention to the sensations. That's what pressure does. It basically focuses our attention. So you can try playing with this both directions. And at this point, you could use your eyes to look around, but I find it makes people dizzy. So this is just number 1. Play with basically circles, play with creating a wave, play with even the idea of just doing a little bit of seaweed and allowing your neck and your head and your spine to basically go with the flow. If you close your eyes, you'll start to notice your spine as kind of this string, and you will see in your mind's eye what kind of shapes it's making, what kind of direction it is, and you'll actually start to feel and see that line. Second exercise that I find incredibly valuable is to actually learn how to move your feet. A lot of us don't have great nuance throughout our feet. Some really simple things to do is to actually create a wave. So you can push with your foot and pull it back. And this will activate your shin like crazy. And you can also draw circles, or you can even tuck your toes and point them the whole time. You can do it straight leg, you can do it bent leg, but this actually allows you to wake up your feet. Another exercise I like to do just to start involving the hands is doing these spinal waves, but actually using your hands to draw figure 8s. So from the side, it'll look like this, where I'm tracing an 8 with the tips of my fingers. So the fingers are not only acting as an endpoint, but as an intention point. And what this does is it makes your spine want to mimic your hands. And the head and the eyes can also follow the same path. And you'll notice how the path of your spine becomes smoother. Another really good exercise to figure out how your endpoints are related, especially your hands, is to put your arms out and then to flip one palm all the way and to flip the other arm the other way. This is actually probably easier done in standing, but I'm staying seated because this is how the video is being recorded. And when you flip your arms one direction or another, and you allow yourself to completely twist, you'll realize how one will add tension to the system and one way will not. And you can start to understand how these are interrelated. And you can even start to move your arms in ways where you feel like you are swirling and spiraling. And when you constantly start noticing how they are interconnected, that means you can actually start learning how to move energy through your body, through your endpoints. The last one that I really like is doing a cat-cow, but it's not any kind of cat-cow. You are making sure that your hands and your feet are anchored. And this now gives you 4 anchors. And this allows you to work the ground, to pull and push the ground with your hands and your feet, and to allow your spine to actually start experiencing some different movements. So a regular cat-cow would just be up and down, and you would exhale on the cat, and you would inhale on the cow. And a really interesting way to play with this is notice that your hands and your feet aren't just pushing into the ground. They are actively, my hands are pulling this way when I go into the cow, and they're pushing into the cat. And you'll start noticing, how are the anchors working to assist the engine? How is the engine working to assist the anchors? And when we start actually moving in this position, and you start closing your eyes, you'll realize that you don't have to go up and down. You can move in a circle. You can send your spine back and you can send it forward. This actually creates a much smoother movement because we're not getting stuck at one point or another point. We're not just bouncing back and forth between places. We are creating a fluid circle. And if you're feeling like you want to take this a step further and really kind of up the ante, you can now take this further and turn it into a downward dog that gets turned into a spinal wave. And you'll notice that if you close your eyes, you'll notice different ways that a spinal wave feels good. Maybe you want to go to the side. Maybe you want to go wider. Maybe you want to kind of get off of one leg. But the point is, you start actually noticing how everything is working together. And the more reps you do, the more you groove this in, the more you'll realize what feels good and what doesn't. It's about untangling the parts of you that feel stuck. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about doing enough repetitions so that you find the most pleasurable way of doing something. Last but not least, one of the best ways to actually tap into your body and figure out how to move well is to follow the feeling of pleasure. All of these movements are cyclical, and the whole point of that is that we can do them over and over again, not to try and see if we're doing it right, but to see if we can do a smooth movement and make it feel even better, if we can make it feel smooth, powerful, connected. Because there's a really big difference between running away from pain, which is really just kind of any direction, or judging movement and trying to make it look a certain way, instead of noticing a movement and trying to make it feel good. So to summarize this video, if you have an organizational system for your body, if you understand it kind of like a car, you're going to be able to actually connect different parts of your body and really deeply understand it. The second thing is that this blueprint, it is kinesthetic, not visual. And when you start actually tapping into how something feels, not to how you think it should look, it will completely revolutionize the way you actually problem solve movement. Next, we have the 5 components of this system, which is paying attention to your anchors, your spinal engine, your endpoints, your intention points or your intention endpoints, and last but not least, your breath as a hydraulic system that pressurizes or creates vacuums within your body, allowing you to manage pressure and power. And then finally, follow pleasure. If it feels good, it's probably biomechanically correct, and you're probably going to move in a way that is safe. If you liked this video and found it helpful, drop a like and drop a comment. And if you really loved it, pass it on to a friend who might need it too. It is my goal to help as many people as possible enjoy their body and make the most of them while we are having this human experience. After that, here are your next steps. If you want to master movement on an even deeper level and learn how your emotions can instantly change how you move, as well as how fast you learn any movement, check out my coaching program, the Peak Performance Accelerator. It's an online coaching program for athletes, coaches, high performers, and ambitious people who want to have a rich and full human experience. If you want that, check out the link in the bio of this video. If you want more deep insights on how to train more holistically, as well as hear a bunch of wild stories from my 20 years of being a professional athlete in track and field, click the link to the Peak Performance Blueprint. It is a free course that will send you 5 emails giving you 5 juicy nuggets on how to think about athletics, movement, and your body differently. And last but not least, if you are in Vancouver, I host in-person classes called Spiral Flow. You can click the link below to sign up. See you next time.